everyone's. Yeah, yes.
Good morning, commissioners. We are live and over to you, Chair Harrington.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, September 19th, 2023 Washington County Board of Commissioners work session. This is Chair Catherine Harrington. I am joined thus far with Commissioners Nafisa Fai and Jerry Willey. Commissioner Treese let me know that she's coming from an appointment and will be a little late today. So the first item on the agenda is board and leadership communication. Who would like to go first?
I can go, Chair Harrington.
Great.
Good morning. I got quite a few things to report this week, so I'll try to stick with my 5 minutes. First thing I wanted to recap is this week has been a transportation week so far. So yesterday at WCCC, ODOT presented the 2027-30, the years 2027-2030 STIP, the statewide transportation improvement program. And ODOT staff shared that transportation costs are increasing at an unprecedented rate, while state and federal revenues for transportation are projected to decline significantly in coming years. They're acknowledged that there are a lot of difficult choices that we'll need to make about maintenance and improvement priorities. And there was a discussion about the need to identify other transportation revenue sources other than gas tax, and potentially considering VMT and charge and tolling, perhaps. The other discussion that took place at WCCC was the CIP and the MSTIP update that the WCCC received yesterday from our staff. And I want to commend Stephen and his staff. They really heard the board's recommendation and the feedback we all gave and really tailored that presentation to the audience. Several mayors noted the importance and the benefit of past MSTIP funding for transportation projects in their communities and expressed appreciation for the program and support for continuing with countywide program. Through the MSTIP process, WCC has historically helped prepare and provided its recommendation to the board of about which major transportation capital projects get funded. A couple of mayors expressed that the cities through WCCC want to retain that role and worry that the WCCC role will be diluted with the transition to a CIP. Staff did clarify that we anticipate that the cities through WCC will continue playing that role for major street improvement projects to be included in the county-wide CIP. Mayors expressed concerns about declining transportation funding overall and some suggestions for going forward, including develop a better statewide funding strategy for transportation improvements was one of the recommendations from the mayors. Discuss regional transportation project prioritization for limited regional and state and federal funding was another. And then another recommendation was to lean on Metro councilors to help deliver more regional funding to the west side. The insinuation or the implying that was that larger share has historically gone to other regions other than Washington County because Washington County had missed funding for our transportation needs. So we didn't really necessarily needed to dip in. So I thought that was a really good recommendation. And then there was a request for clarification of the CIP process about whether the projects from the previous MSTIP 2023-2028 process would come to WCCC for input. Stephen confirmed that we will bring the list of projects to WCCC for prioritizing and WCC project funding recommendation to the board. So that process still stands. So I appreciate that clarification. I think it provided some calming. And then another, 1 minute. RTEC, yesterday, there was a RTEC meeting, the Regional Tolling Advisory Committee. There was a presentation on managed lanes, and an expert shared his opinion that it would not work on our area, on our region, the metro area. And the expert shared that it best works where you can add a lane to the system. Is actually a requirement for managed lanes, and does not work well when you have to convert a general purpose travel lane to a tolled lane, especially wouldn't work on 2-lane sections of I-205. So basically, managed lanes is not going to happen in Oregon. The regional mobility pricing program messaging is shifting to be more clear about the project is about both congestion management and revenue generation, which is kind of going to create a interesting conversation for going forward, because we're pricing to manage congestion, but now there's more clear articulation around revenue generation piece of tolling. So. And ODOT talked a little about public transportation strategy and the Nexus project list. There will be more discussion to come about combining the list, future funding, and other issues. So ODOT committed that that group will continue meeting every other month through 2024. So currently we meet once a month, but that will change. And then both Commissioner Willie and I weren't able to attend the TV Highway Steering Committee. Stephen Roberts, our LET director, attended and took really great notes. And I want to share that with you all instead of taking that time today. And with that, I'll stop and turn it back to you, Chair.
Good morning, Commissioner Rogers. Hello. Commissioner Willie, you want to go next?
Yes, I will. But just to follow up on that, Nafisa, I sat in on that WCCC meeting yesterday as well, and it was an interesting conversation. And I think you covered it pretty well. The interesting thing is that just about every meeting I go into, ODOT communicates that they're running out of money, and they're going to start taking improvements money and put it into operations because they don't have enough money to operate and stay open. We've got an Oregon Department of Forestry that if they pass the HCP is going to lose about 50% of their revenues. So we've got two major departments at the state that hopefully our legislators are paying attention to. But this ODOT gas tax thing has been going on for 10 years, and this is no surprise. They just haven't done a thing about it, which is pretty interesting to me. I think they're hoping that it'll go away, and ODOT will go away, and then we won't like it. And another interesting thing too was that with the money that ODOT has, they must maintain our interstates, which is 84, I-5, 205, and 405. All the rest of them, they don't have to do a thing to them. But for us to get federal money, we have to maintain them. And 26. Yeah, okay. And then they showed a map of all the highways that aren't going to get that attention. Yeah, our road system is in trouble. Also last week, if you remember, I went down to Salem on Monday to testify or to meet with Council of Forest Trust Lands, to meet with the governor's policy advisors on working on the HCP. Catherine was there by Zoom on Wednesday. We went back in on Zoom, and so was there twice last week talking to the governor's staff about what is going to happen if the HCP is passed and timber revenues go down significantly as predicted, and what's going to happen specifically to Clatsop and Tillamook counties and the special districts that rely on that timber money. So the governor, I think, believes that she can fund it, but that's only for a 2-year thing. This is a 70-year HCP, so that doesn't work very well. And then the domino effect of losing those jobs and the economy in those counties is going to be impacted no matter how much money somebody would come up with to backfill that. So stay tuned. That's more conversation. We'll probably have another set of meetings in a couple of months, and we'll see where that goes. Last Thursday was COPAC meeting, and I had intended to drive in to Tillamook because we brought in our new executive director, Colin Cooper, from actually formerly of the city of Hillsborough. And so Colin has taken over COPAC, and I didn't go down there primarily because I couldn't make it from Tillamook to Tigard for our work session by 1 o'clock. So I took that by Zoom. That worked out a lot better, actually. So I'm thankful that we have Zoom capabilities and we can do hybrid meetings. PSCC was on Friday. And again, we had a good conversation about electronic monitoring and the importance of that. And the reason why that is top of mind is because we have these, we have to be releasing from our jail because of capacity issues and because of lack of staffing. So now we're looking more heavily into electronic monitoring and enhancing that system. So there's a lot of conversation about the woes of electronic monitoring that I won't get into, but anyway. And then we've got a purpose and work plan development that is a white paper that's coming. Aaron Calvert and the sheriff and the DA, and I can't remember who else is on.
Community corrections, juvenile
Yeah.
justice, it's
Yeah.
a whole ecosystem.
Whole bunch of them in
Courts.
there that are working on that. I'm really looking forward to that. We may have that in, what was that, in a couple weeks? Is that what?
October 10th work session.
Yeah. So yeah, looking forward to seeing that. I have a Sunbury Trail Foundation Board meeting tonight where I will be brought onto that board. Remember, the executive director or the chair of the board had to step down for a couple of months for some health issues. And so they've asked me to come on as a backfill. So I'm doing that. We'll do that tonight. And then the GPI annual summit is on Wednesday and tomorrow, and I'll be going to that as well. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Mr. Rogers, welcome. What's on your docket these days?
Not a lot. We were all together last Thursday for part of the day, and Diane, thank you to your crew for Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't partake in the canoeing, others did, but
Nope. Nafisa did. I didn't.
What
you
happened?
went out on the canoe?
Canoeing.
Yeah, I went on canoeing.
Oh, good. Good for you. I know you don't swim, so that's very brave of you.
I felt very safe because I was with Mark Jockers and Pam Trees. Commissioner Trees was right there in the water.
Yeah.
Mark,
Just
life-saving
stand
merit
up,
badge,
yeah.
huh?
I don't go in the water with a lot of people, so thank you.
Last week, WA had a meeting on economic development with the city of Beaverton. It's always interesting to hear what their thoughts are and what they're doing. And somewhat land constrained city by their own admission. So that was interesting. This week I've got a couple of meetings with 12 and Chamber. One, they have what they call a BAC, and it's interesting to hear what they're doing down there. Plus they have a totally presentation with a lot of folks on Friday. And then they have another meeting that I'm going to attend. Legislative person with Lori Dreamer's office. You know, she proposed federal legislation to ban tolling. It's a big issue down in that neck of the woods. So it's always interesting to hear what's going on. WA on Thursday morning has a meeting that you may or may not be interested in attending. It's on the systems development. Andrew Brodow's going to be one of the speakers amongst others. It's a hot topic, and the only thing that runs through my mind anymore is the song "Money, Money, Money." Everybody's saying, "I need money." I'm not sure where we're going to get it, but I propose this is a Stephen Roberts proposal that we have Washington County bucks, and everybody gets paid, and we pay everything in Washington County bucks. So it's a good idea, Stephen. I don't know if it's legal, but it sounds like really special idea.
It's kind of like monopoly money, just
Sort of,
for
yeah.
Washington County.
Yeah, yeah. You get paid it, and you can only spend it here. So it's kind of like the old railroads. Remember that?
That's true.
City of Ithaca
That's
does
it.
that. They called Ithaca hours. Yeah.
Oh, ethical
What?
hours?
They called it Ithaca hours, so they had their own monetary system.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
See, that wasn't a novel idea, Susan. We were taking credit for that.
That's I'm saying.
Yeah, no worries.
No worries. Can you believe it's almost October? I can't.
I can, and it's, yeah.
Time is trotting by. So last week was the monthly Metro Supportive Housing Services Tri-County Planning Body. And we had a really useful presentation on the current HMIS system. And I won't try to remember what that acronym means. I believe I forwarded that presentation to you. I'll check. They're looking at, there's the current system, but they're also working on an improved system and gaining feedback for that. So it was pretty interesting. As Commissioner Willie mentioned, I did listen into the CFTLC meeting number 1 and 2 last week with the governor's office. And just tried to point out that we have a lot of common issues to work on together with the state. So I don't know what the next steps are from that meeting, really.
Well, I thought he said he was, it's not Greg.
Yeah,
Was,
it was.
was it Greg?
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought he said he was gonna, put that together. We'll have conversations with the governor and see what they could come up with. What he was asking for was numbers. He wanted the counties to say, well, we're gonna be short X amount of dollars, so he could compile all that and say, okay, how big do we have to write the
Our
check?
CFTLC person has all that data though.
Yeah, what the messaging I heard was, it's not about money.
Yeah, it's not just money, it's
Yeah.
the economy, silly.
Yeah.
It'll also be interesting to see what the Oregon Board of Forestry does. Last week was the community open house for the CAT. They had great attendance. They had great tables. It was really wonderful. And also, a bunch of you missed a great opportunity yesterday to tour a new site that THPRD is hoping all of us will invest in. It is a beautiful site. To potentially add 100 acres to the current 230 acre park. And they can tell you more about the level of visitors. Over 100,000 people visit that park every year, with nearly a third of the visitors from surrounding cities, including Hillsborough and Tigard. So Doug Menke's going to send the brochure. It's an amazing piece of property. And I just wanted to highlight to you, I believe Mark Jockers from Clean Water Services has forwarded to all of us the schedule for the VCOMS visit. That's the team from Cambodia who will be visiting us next Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday in advance of WEFTEC. We have a dinner as the CWS Board of Directors on Wednesday, the 27th. And then there are activities for you to participate if that meets with your liking. That's it from me. Leadership communication, what have you got for us?
I have some exciting announcements.
Yay!
Start with that. So good morning, Chair and Board of Commissioners. First, I'll start off with our newest Assistant County Administrator, Strategic Planning Officer hire. So delighted to share that Danny Ledsma accepted the offer this last week. Danny has proven skills in leadership, collaboration, and strategic planning. Most recently led the strategic planning effort at Portland Public Schools. She has a wide range of experience, local, state, and nonprofit organizations that will be highly valued. Once she starts, I'll give a further overview, and that information was also sent to you last week. I appreciate the role Commissioner Willie and Commissioner Treese played within this hiring process, and her start date will be October 16th, which is the same start date as our new HR officer, and just in essence a week after Molly Rogers, our new housing director. So it's several transitions in the making. Also pleased to share that we have successfully completed the hiring process for staff assistants, your staff assistants. So the first staff assistant will be serving assigned to Commissioner Treese and Commissioner Willie, and that's Maida Pula. And Maida comes to Washington County with experience as chief of staff to 2 state legislative representatives and prior policy advisor to another. She also worked as a leg aide and legislative policy intern. Meta earned her Bachelor of Science in Political Science from Portland State University, and she'll be starting with the county on November 1st. That will allow Megan McKibben to fully transition into her role as my assistant, which I think Megan will be happy with the ease and workload once that occurs too. As she's wearing multiple hats right now. I appreciate that, Megan. Jory Mesner will be assigned to Chair Harrington, and Jory comes to Washington County with experience as chief of staff to a state legislative representative. Prior to that, she was a district representative to Kurt Schrader, and before that worked on several campaigns as deputy and campaign managers. Jory earned her Bachelor of Arts in Political Science with an emphasis on law and policy from Portland State University, and she will start on October 2nd. So that's right around the corner. So really excited to welcome the 2 new staff assistants in service to you on the Washington County team.
And thank you everyone for participating on all those hiring panels. It's really been a team effort, and now we've moved to onboarding our new team members. Very excited.
A few housing updates. Safe Rest Village at Aloha United Methodist Church is still on track to open in late October or early November. Construction is underway, and the pods take approximately 60 days to fully construct. Also happy to report that the Heartwood Commons signs are ordered and being manufactured by the sign company. Signs take a much longer time to manufacture, but this question has come up from some commissioners. The old sign was removed and the area was painted, so it is ready for the install scheduled on October 2nd. So progress is underway. Looking at calendars next week, I will be out September 28th through October 4th for the annual ICMA conference. Attached to the ICMA conference is the ICMA board meeting. During this time, Erin Calvert and Rachel will be sharing the acting role. Erin Calvert will be covering your board meeting on September 26th. This conference will actually mark the formal start of my 3-year term, starting this year as president-elect. So really exciting time. And I'll also be presenting on a panel on local government leadership during challenging times, and in several focused discussions on just global local government leadership as well. And that concludes my update.
Great, thank you, Chair. I have to step out. Want to jump in there?
Sure. So I got what Commissioner Rogers had last week. He brought it over from England.
I told you not to hug me so much.
So like Tanya, I'm going to be out at the end of next week, but I will be at your board meeting next week. I'm going to be at the IMLA conference, which where Tom is going to be not at to get his award. So, but we will have, of course, Courtney will be in if you have any questions during that time, and I will be available. Sheriff's Office, we're talking about transition last week, and just to let you know, I've already shared this with you, but next week at the work session, the sheriff's going to come in and chat with you about succession planning and your options for appointments. And then we're anticipating that on October 3rd, you can discuss that and make a decision on where you want to go.
And that'll be in a board meeting, not a work session.
That's going to be in the board meeting. Yeah. Action item is what we're intending to do. Yeah.
Could I ask a question or should I wait?
No, go ahead.
Brad, I'm wondering, could we take a decision on that day when he does the presentation in terms of the appointment, or is it a process of,
No, it's a board
Fine.
decision, so it has to be in a board meeting.
It has to be in a board
but
meeting.
he's presenting at a board meeting?
Well, so he's gonna provide a work session next week to discuss this stuff, and then on October 3rd, we have a time frame in action where you can have your discussion and you could appoint if you so choose on October 3rd.
October 3rd.
You've probably heard in the news about the Tyler versus Hennepin case out of that came up last in June regarding tax foreclosure properties. Jason had an item in the hot sheet on that. I just want to give you a quick update on what we're doing. We need some legislative changes because Oregon process does not address that case, and so there's been a lot of actions at AOC to figure out what those changes should be. We're recommending kind of following the state of Washington model because they've addressed this issue. And then we're also working on some internal policies because we do have properties that we're taking in foreclosure here fairly shortly. So we got to have some policies in place, and we're working on those right now internally. I just want to put this on your radar. We've just begun talks about another defeasance. If you remember a year and a half ago, this is that complicated financial transaction that we did about a year and a half ago to create an opportunity for money to come in for the housing authority to do improvements to some of the properties. It's an incredibly complicated transaction. Your board is just one piece of it. The housing authority has a big piece. And so we've just started discussions on that, but there will likely be another defeasance before the end of this calendar year. So just putting that on your radar. Don't know yet. They're just starting to work the numbers right now on it. But it's going to be a substantial portfolio that's going to go into the process. So when I know more, I'll let you know more. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Diane, Clean Water Services.
Thank you, Chair Harrington. Good morning, Board of Clean Water Services. I just wanted to thank you for all the time you spent on Thursday. The CWAC members really talked about how much they really enjoyed the event with the board. And they look forward to other events.
How was the experience on the water?
They had a great time. We kind of launched a little later in the evening than we wanted, but yeah, but they also, it was beautiful.
Did you all make it back by dark?
Yeah, they did.
We got beaten by some other people. There's some race going on. So we're working on our speed.
So next week, we're all looking forward to the VCOM's delegation visit, as you talked about, from Vientiane and Laos, and they're bringing some pretty important folks from their capital city there. So, and the chair and Mark had the privilege of meeting them.
So does that mean, so the vice mayor or vice governor, I can't remember which of
Yeah,
his,
the vice mayor is what the term is.
Yeah. and then the VCOM's general manager, 2 businessmen?
The VCOM's general manager and deputy, who we
Yeah.
spent a lot of time with, the vice
Yeah.
mayor. Also, one of the representatives we met with from the foreign ministry will be there, as well as two of the Laos business people, and then also 2 translators, including Benjuan, who we spent time with previously.
So does this mean we won't actually be building a floating filtration? Darn.
But we do have some schedules that we're doing in Chicago to go visit some actual floating wetlands that they do have in Chicago that Pete is putting together for us, Pete Munoz.
Oh, wonderful.
So
Good. That's great.
Loading wetlands, is this a mitigation issue? Is this
it's a treatment technology. We have piloted some of those out at Fernhill as well, and there's companies that actually build them too. So
It uses the root systems of the plants to uptake things that are in the water to provide treatment. It's
Oh.
amazing. Yeah.
You might need to use your mic.
Oh, excuse me. And we're also having the Performance Excellence Learning Site visit from the Performance Excellence Northwest team to share their insights on the strengths of clean water services and our opportunities for continued improvement in our business operations. When I looked at the report, we're about 50 to 60% of where we want to be before we want to apply for the national recognition, but it was very thorough. And I think the team is really up to the challenge. It's a very high bar, and we're ready to do that. So, and we'll be sharing more information with the board about the things that we need to do.
Excellent. Okay. Are there any, turning to the formal agenda for today, are there any updates or questions that any folks have? No. Will, for the presentation of the Platinum and Gold Peak Performance Awards, will you have team members coming? Okay, so we can expect a photo opportunity with that. So, okay. And after our board meeting completes today, we are planning on having an executive session at approximately 11:15. Before we close out this portion of the work session, should we do the motion for the exec session now, or just hold that for when we reconvene?
You should probably hold it for when we reconvene because you got
Okay.
a
Yeah, a whole
meeting
nother
in the
meeting.
middle.
Yep.
We can
Yep.
do it at the end of the board meeting, can't we? Before we adjourn the board meeting, we just.
No, we can
We're
just
doing
come
this.
back here and do
Okay.
it.
All
It's
right.
fine. I just wanted to let the audience know that our pause in the work session and reconvene on work session will be taking place at time certain 1 p.m. today. And we have just 2 items, or did I mess up my packet?
I do have 2 items,
two
Chair, in
items
the
this afternoon.
afternoon. The 1 o'clock North Plains Urban Growth Boundary Expansion, and that is a time certain item. And then the Center for Addictions Triage and Treatment, or CAT financial plan thereafter.
Okie dokie. Great. All right. So that's it for now. And we'll see everybody in the auditorium at 10 o'clock. Thank you.
Significance of the trial.